Dark Shadow. Ooh.
Ooh.
Spoopy. It's not October, but it's already getting spoopy.
Spooky skeletons.
Welcome to Castles of Runeterra, episode 20. I'm your host, Ryan, here with your other host, Hetch.
Episode 20.
I know, right?
We've done it. We've done it. I feel accomplished right now.
Did you ever imagine a world in which it would be possible?
I mean, in 2020, absolutely not.
I honestly didn't think the human race was going to make it this far. Yeah, man, we're here. What is it? We're in September. We're in September. Oh my goodness.
It's just moving, man. Time is a straight line. Continuous.
That's up for discussion. But
oh no,
we won't do that here. But we will do housekeeping. So obviously, listen to us everywhere. Follow us on Twitter if you're not, to keep up to date with episodes. Fastest way to get updated. That's at Podcast Core. That's Podcast COR, and then you can send an email to the same name at gmail.com. And please like, follow, and leave a short review or comment as usual. And after a long day, tell a friend to relax and bask in the moonlight and chill to the sounds of the Casuals of Runeterra podcast.
Oh God, what? We just went to like a 2 a.m. radio cast. Gross.
Stick to the game.
Stick to the
game. So this one's interesting because neither Hetch or I have really done anything fun. I've been playing Expedition though. I had 32 Expedition coins. So I figured, you know what, new set. Let's go ahead and see what cards we can get as I try to get those first couple boxes in the activate tab, or the activated regions tab, because I have all the other stuff, so I might as well use that before I buy cards. And yeah, Expedition is a good time. I'm starting to, I have to get back into it because it is so different from other drafting games, and I haven't played it since beta,
so
to be
different.
Honest. What are you playing though?
Well, you're more fun than I am. I copy pasted a list from Mega Mogwai.
Nice.
That's the Yasuo Leona stun.
Yeah.
Because we discovered last cast that we are split in this podcast. Like, I'm Camp Leona, so I had to craft all my Leonas, and I do have obviously a Leona Demacia list because that just makes sense. But I played around with this one because it is kind of fun while being a little bit different from some things that popped up, but it's not a creative creation of mine.
Yeah.
And I had fun. I'm having a blast. I'm now in your boat though, where I haven't played as much as I should, and that's because I'm living back in like early 2000s with the Crystal Chronicles remake.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So that's understandable. You should just started with that, and then you wouldn't have to say anything else.
I'm a loser.
No, it's great fun. I avoided it though, like the plague, because I was like, I couldn't do it. Crystal Chronicles. I have a good Crystal Chronicles story. I'll tell you later too.
Oh, excellent.
About the original release. I don't think I've ever told you the story. But yeah, so let's go ahead and just move to the main topic then, where we're going to start with some Diana stuff. My girl, Lunari Stand Up. What spell do you got for us to start?
Lunari Stand Up. Represent. Diana's got shooters out here, man. All right, so we're going to open it up with a spell. Honestly, I think, like, if we're all going to be honest, we all see this spell coming. This is not going to be a surprise, but it's perfect. Like, we're going to open up with the Pale Cascade.
Nice.
So with Pale Cascade is going to be obviously Targon, 2 mana spell at burst speed, and it is give an ally +2/+1 this round. With Nightfall, draw a card.
Yeah. And
I can't think of any way to make this card better for an aggro deck. This is literally all you could ask for in an aggro deck. You know, you've got the burst speed as far as making sure that the spell's going to go off. You've got stats that you're adding to the board, both not just attack. Like that one health can make a huge difference as far as surviving a vile feast or something like that. And on top of that, the flavor as far as playing in a Nightfall deck is if you're triggering Nightfall off of it, you're drawing a card too. Like the spell is perfect. Like it is a perfect card, auto include in any Nightfall deck. And the only thing negative that I can even find in it is like it doesn't feel like it doesn't have that whole feeling that a lot of other like champion spells have of feeling like the League of Legends character. And man, that is nitpicking. I'm
is it because it doesn't cost 3?
Yeah, where's the 3 cost? Come on, Riot.
Ryan's math has dictated that it must align 100% of the time. I don't care about balance. I just want it to match.
The numbers don't add up.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. Like you said, it's flexible. And Nightfall in general is a more flexible keyword in this set versus Daybreak, right? So it being a Nightfall card fits a lot better. Because if it was a Daybreak card with draw 1, then it kind of skews how usable it would have been.
Yeah, and because I didn't like specify it just in case, the Daybreak and Nightfall. Daybreak is the first card you play in a round, while Nightfall is the second card you play in a round, or not just as long as it's not the first.
Yeah.
Just to really specify it.
So that kind of feeds into the follower we have here.
Yes,
with some more Nightfall goodness. And one of the better quotes I like here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna full disclosure. Let's be a little bit transparent here. I picked this one because the art is also ballin'. All right. Like, yeah. What's good, Bay?
I'm happy you mentioned that. So was it 6 More Vodka? The guys who do the art, or the company that does the art,
yes,
or a good majority of the art, has posted all of their full art stuff on their site. So if you haven't seen that or heard that, go check that out, because you can get all the desktop stuff you want, wallpapers for phones, etc., at maximum resolutions. So dope of them. They do a great job. And we are seeing, because I mentioned that, but this art is actually done by Kudos Productions. So they brought more artists in this one, both independent and studios. But as you were.
I didn't know that. I'm going to have to check those out. I'm going to pimp out my background now.
Nice.
All right, so we're going to be going into the Lunari Shadestalker. So just first, let's look at the card. It's going to be a 2-mana, 2/3 with Nightfall, grant me elusive.
It's too good.
This is another one that is like kind of an auto include, isn't it? Like where can you go wrong with a 2-mana 2/3? First off, like that's already just a good stat line for the game. Yeah. And it's one of the things where this is one of those cards that you take for granted the health stat in a lot of cards, and this one is one of those cards that really shows how important like a health stat can be, because this is already something that gets past Mystic Shot.
Yep.
Like if you're using spells, you're probably getting 2 for 1 as far as the spells, and that's great. But the fact that it also has elusive, and in a meta post Riot elusive nerfs, all right, like all of the elusive cards had to get destroyed for this card to survive. All right, like it can only survive in this environment, and
those cards had to walk so this card could run.
Oh my god. but also this one, like I wanted to look at it because the flavor text on this one is also like my favorite way of doing flavor text, which instead of telling like the lore of the card, we're looking at just a specific story that we know nothing about. Yeah. And it is a quote from a Solari priest. Let us cast our eyes towards the heavens, toward the sun, toward Our Lady's light. Wait, what? What is that? And well, spoilers, that man probably dead. Oh, he dead.
It's like an anime where you have like a guard having like a discussion with someone, and the guy's responding but not looking at his partner, and all of a sudden you hear so perfect.
Head snaps, looking off camera. Nani?
So this takes us to our champion for the episode, which is the Lady of Night herself, Diana. And I forgot to mention the title of this, Dark Shadow. Ooh. Spoopy. It's not October, but it's already getting spoopy.
Spooky skeletons.
So if you've listened to our last episode, and if you haven't, then listen to that episode because they go hand in hand with Leona and Diana. And if you haven't listened to that episode, listen to every episode before that because that's how it works. And so for Diana, so as we mentioned before, Diana was an orphan whose parents died unfortunately to the elements of the mountain. She was found during like a Solari kind of mission where soldiers were out. They took her in. And then she was raised in the Solari faith, right? Raised as one of their own, but was not really bound by it. So kind of like a secular following, if that makes sense, right? Where she didn't really attack it, but she would always ask questions and, try to poke holes in the whole religion. And people were like, hey, don't do that. It's not cool, right? Like, don't poke it. Don't leave it alone.
It's that guy just hiding behind the camera, just giving the cut signal.
Yes.
Like, cut it, stop.
And that inquisitive nature in such a very strict faith usually led to her being shunned by the elders, so like teachers and priests. And no one really wanted to help her. And this is kind of how she became good friends with Leona. Where, as we mentioned, Leona is more of like a monastic, like a monk, right? Like she follows it to the T. She's all about it. She's 100% Team Solari. But she's also, because of that, open to bring Diana on as a friend, as trying to be like, oh, maybe I can help her, right? And Diana's like, well, maybe she will listen, right? Because she's at least showing me attention where everybody else acts like I don't exist. And what kind of gives us our takeoff point is when she finds the depictions in the cave of the Lunari alongside the Solari. And she comes back, she tries to tell Leona, hey, this is cool, right? And she's like, no. And that's heresy.
That's heresy.
That's heresy. And she immediately didn't want to get involved and try to say, hey, Diana, let's quit this whole charade for now and just keep doing what we do. So she kind of left it alone. And that allowed Diana to be like, okay, cool. If you're not going to go with me, I'm going to go find more information. And she found more information in the sense that she was then consumed by the moon's light and became the moon aspect and was granted all the knowledge and powers of the Lunari. So upon that happening, likewise, we had Leona encountering her same event where she was being consumed by the sun's light and that aspect. And at that point, which we didn't get mentioned in Leona's story, but Diana was like, hey, what if we take both our powers and go off to essentially seek the truth together as far as these two aspects? And Leona's like, no, we need to go back to town and let people know what's up. And Diana's like, no. So she beats her up. Because I think one thing we know about the moon's aspect is it does have an aggressive feature to it, where it is more like feral in a sense. And that leads her to beat up Leona and then run back to town to see if she can convince the town folk of what's going on, like the elders and such. Like, hey, I've just been consumed by this, like, you need to listen to the story. And they are all scared shitless because they're like, no, we don't want to deal with this. Why do you have this power? And you're a heretic. Because that's the most important part.
Heresy.
And this leads to that rage-inducing thing again, where the little battle happens, and she leaves a bunch of carnage in her wake, and she flees. And she says, "Screw it, I'm gone." But her vow is to open their eyes to the truth someday in the future about what the Solari and the Lunari together means by any means necessary. Which is, listen, religious conflicts in the past are the basis of this story, so we can understand how we get to this wartime situation that we have in the game or in like League of Legends and what we know from the lore. But we'll get to that stuff down the road when we go deeper into the interactions between the two. So
Keyword deeper, like that trying to even dig into the conflict is like there's a lot. There's definitely a lot, and it's something to look forward to be honest. Like,
They're definitely gonna, I think it's one of those cases where we have Targon, because remember, we mentioned in the last episode, Targon's being released in 3 kind of waves, right? So we have this first batch. We're going to have a smaller batch in the next 2 before we get to the next region next year. So that's going to be a cool way for them to probably re-reference, okay, well, we've given you the beginning of what's happening. Here's some more stuff as we add cards, right? Like the grander picture, which is going to be cool on top of, because we have stories for both characters as well. So that's cool. So let's talk about the card, because the card is very aggressive, just like the moon aspect.
So, like, as far as you bringing up that like the Lunari is more feral, this card's pretty feral.
And even her makeup is fierce.
Yes, queen.
Yes, queen. So Diana's a 2 cost 2/2 with quick attack, and if Nightfall trigger, give me Challenger this round, and then if you activate Nightfall 4 times, she flips. And when she flips, she becomes even a more aggressive card, because she becomes the Nightfall trigger. So she still has quick attack. She becomes a 3/3. So like every character, you get the +1/+1. And then she has Nightfall, or when you activate another Nightfall, give me +2/+0 and Challenger this round. And that stacks. So, well, the Challenger is, once you have Challenger, you have it, but that +2/+0 stacks.
Everyone pause. That stacks. Like, at that, with the way that this game works is like Diana hits the board, you're triggering Nightfall like again and again for the turn, and the way that Nightfall is working right now, it's a low to the ground curve. So you're going to be able to trigger it a lot as long as you got the board space. And when you're triggering it, this is a 2-mana kill spell at that point. Like essentially like a 2-mana kill spell, because like with the quick attack on top of it, like you better have removal if you weren't trying to protect something on your board.
Exactly. This is a cool card. A lot of people are encountering some problems with trying to work with Lunari aggro, because it runs out of steam a lot. And with these cards, you kind of need that buffer of overwhelm somehow to fit in there, but it doesn't fit very well. So it's like, how do you balance it out? But everyone's so hyped up on ASO right now, it's not even a case where they're trying to, like, the aggro decks you're seeing are still the old style of things. So no one's really taken to it yet.
And I know that like one of the big things with it is that it's such a different play style because of the way like that it differs from other aggro decks, where it's pseudo swarmy while also not being full on swarm. It is a almost passive style of playing an aggressive deck, but it's not deep enough to have a mid-range tag to it. I feel like it feels like a play style that just hasn't been fully figured out yet. Because it definitely doesn't feel weak. Lord knows I have gotten absolutely bodied by like a Diana and Nocturne on the same board. I mean, bodied.
The nut draw is a nut draw. Like, it's going to do damage.
Absolutely. Like, it's like, I'll be all right. I'm at like 17. Oh, hang on a second. I'm at -3. So you're saying there was never a chance.
So it's funny you bring up power level, because that leads us to our question of this episode, Hetch, is this one. Once again, I'm going easier on you these days because I care for your health. And
bless you.
So which power set would you rather? Would you rather the Lunari power set or the Solari power set? Would you like to cook people with the sun's rays? or just strike them with a blade, because that seems to be the power set. The power set of Lunari is just a knife. Like, it's really just
like, okay, like, I could have made this question a lot more in depth, but you had to phrase it. You had to phrase it the way you phrased it. So
Yeah.
I'm going with, you know, I want to be a chef. All right. I'm going with cooking people. All right. So
it's funny because I like the Lunari better, but the power set of the Solari is so cool. And even the animations are super cool with just blowing people up with the sun. you can't really beat that. I'm sorry.
Behold!
I know the night is cool and all, but come on.
Yeah, I like, and this is another time that you've kind of like you've just kind of sidelined me with this whole because the story of the Lunari, like the more that Diana found, where it's like, oh well, they lived in harmony at one point, like that is like, we don't know enough. There's so much potential depth there, and the idea of pursuing living in harmony is something that speaks to me. And it's like, that's great. But then last episode you're like, well, I played Diana, and it's like, oh, if we're pulling that card, I drop my ult on your face, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you want to cook people with the sun? Yeah,
I want to cook people.
Pass me my magnifying glass.
We got him on record, folks. He's going to prison.
I'm gonna no, please.
And with that, we're gonna wrap it up. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with the next episode.
Take care, everybody.